Good evening, Lake Orion. Welcome to the 5th annual Lake Orion Football Preview Show on ONTV. I'm your host, Anthony Taormina, also co-host of Between Taorminas and host of History Now. I'm here with my guest, Lake Orion football coach Chris Bell. Coach, how are you doing?
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I'm also here with my co-host, also of Between Taorminas, also
2005, Lake
also
Orion
2006.
2005.
Well, class of 2006, but the 2005 football season. Lake Orion alum Sammy Taormina.
And host of OA Now.
And host, yeah, you just pretty much introduced yourself.
Thank you.
Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
Wonderful. I want to talk about this year's upcoming Lake Orion football season, but I want to recap last season, the 2015 football season, where Lake Orion went 4-5, finished for 4th place in the OAA Red. Lake Orion scored 139 points.
180.
180?
Yeah.
Which was 19.8 points a game. Then they gave up 107 points,
139.
You want to go over the stat with me?
Yeah, I got the, I've been writing the stats down, you know what I mean? It's been on my podcast and all that, you know what I mean? He allowed 139 points a year ago. I think he got league stats.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, Coach, you want to recap what you felt last season?
Yeah, obviously we were disappointed whenever we don't qualify for the playoffs, and we finished 4-5. We were disappointed in the end result. A great group of kids. Really enjoyed coaching the kids. Which is really why we do this thing. We do the best we can. The kids do the best that they can. And we had a great time being together. We were just, at the end, we are, what we do, and we finished 4-5, and we felt like we underachieved. I mean, there were some areas that just never really came together. I thought defensively last year, I thought for the most part, I thought we played pretty good defense last year. We were pretty solid. I thought we played well enough on defense to be a playoff team. I felt like our shortcoming was offensively. We just could never put it all together. We struggled in different phases in our league. If you can't run it and throw it and do so effectively, we're going to struggle. And at times we became too one-dimensional. We had some injuries early on, which it's not an excuse, it's a reality. We struggled to come along in certain phases on offense where I thought that we would, and it limited us a little bit in playing very good teams. Like I said, you cannot be one-dimensional in our league. You got to be balanced. So, and then even then when we did play well at times offensively, we went down to game one, scored 28 points against Chippewa Valley. Usually Lake Orion scores 28 points. We're going to win the game. Well, we gave up, 35, which is uncharacteristic, and they returned a lot, and they had a great quarterback, and we gave up some big plays there. So we let some of those things get away from us. Throughout the season as well, we had other games where there was a tie ball game. We were in the lead in the 4th quarter, and we let some of those games get away. And that's so the record says 4-5. We're really close. It's a small difference between 4-5 and 6-3. And, there's a big difference. We won a big game against a playoff team down the stretch against Farmington. I think that really gave us some momentum going to the offseason, and they were a very, very good team. Mm-hmm. And we played probably our best game. And I know defensively we played a great game, and offensively we were very solid, did what we had to do, and we ended up winning that game 17-14. Mm-hmm. And so that gave us some momentum. But it kind of showed what we were capable of. And at the end of the season, we kind of just, it was we're kind of kicking ourselves saying, where has that been for the previous 8 weeks? But, like I said, that's football. Like I said, I was proud of the kids and their effort. They came to work every day. And they were a lot of fun. They're great kids, and we just wish that we would have done better.
I know a lot of people say in the community, of course, the last 2 years has not gone well, 8-10 the last 2 years. What do you say to the community about addressing that?
Well, you know what, we do the best we can. And sometimes there's things we can't control. Sometimes it's whether we have been hit with injuries the last couple of years. And there's other teams that are just very good. Mm-hmm. There's other teams that have a lot of talent, and that happens year to year in high school football. We don't go out and recruit kids. We coach our Lake Orion kids. We develop our Lake Orion kids, and we're always going to be solid. We're going to have blue-collar kids who are going to play hard and do things the right way. And and we've beaten teams in the past that have had more talent than us. And there's years in the past when we've been the most talented team around. So it goes in cycles. It's so. Yes, we've underachieved. We have high expectations because of our history, because of our tradition. We have high expectations. We expect to be a playoff team. We expect to be in the hunt for the league title. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. What we're able to do, and what we're able to do is we step away. We evaluate ourselves as a team on are we doing the very best that we can. And if we're doing that, let the results happen when they happen. Results are that's the final destination. The process is what we invest ourselves in, and we're going to win some, we're going to lose some, But the key here is that we're going to learn some lessons along the way, and hopefully emerge from this thing giving the best that we can, and being able to learn to deal with victory and defeat, which are great life lessons as well.
I wanted to mention some of your biggest wins. You made mention of Farmington. Some of the biggest wins that last year's group had was Oxford, 36-0. The kids were able to get the 00 trophy back, and also the homecoming game with Bloomfield Hills, 24-0. What were those? And then you also had some setback games where opposing teams worked harder, which was Troy Athens and Stony Creek, those two teams in particular. So it was really an up and down type of season with this group.
Yeah, Troy Athens had a really good team last year. For that, they've had a good group of seniors, and they just outplayed us up front. And we really, offensively, what may have been our worst game of the season. We struggled to protect the quarterback. We struggled to run the ball. And defensively, they kept us in it. And then, we thought at one point, 30 seconds left, and we think we're heading overtime. And on 3rd and long, they hit the back out of the backfield for a deep play. They called the right play at the right time, and we were in a bad matchup, and we thought we were in a safe defense at the time, but we gave up a big play, and it cost us a ball game. So that you let teams like that hang around, that stuff can happen. But you look at the Oxford game. Oxford, whenever we play Oxford, it's a big game. Obviously, one of our rivals, playing for 00 trophy. And our kids know what's at stake. There's a lot of history with that game going way back. Since the community started playing football. So it's been a great rivalry since it's come back. It's always a fun game to play. Always one of the games our kids really look forward to. The trophy obviously makes it extra special. And this year is also going to be great because we have. This year it's going to be our pink game, where last year for the first time we had a pink game where we raised some funds for breast cancer awareness and made a donation to A Mother's Wish, which is a local charity. We're doing it again, and this year Oxford is on board as well. So Oxford's really embracing the charity as well. So not only is the game going to be for the 00 trophy, big rivalry, it's going to be a game that where both communities can come together and play in this game and benefit a cause much greater than ourselves.
They did that during girls basketball too, so it's nice to see that happen for football between Lake Orion and Oxford. My last question, was it possible, with Athens and Stony last year, was it a lack of preparedness, or was it a possibility of seeing past success, particularly against Troy Athens, because the record was 22-2 overall?
Yeah, I don't know if our guys.
Possible?
I don't think so. Our guys worked hard. We always prepare, and we prepare whether we're playing, whether it's game 1 or game 9 or playoff game. Our preparation is the same. The hours we put in as a coaching staff, the hours the players put in, the film work, the preparation is the same. Now. Obviously we've had a lot of success against those schools in the past, but by the same token, we saw on film that they were good teams, that they had some good players as well, and it came down to, against the Athens game, we just didn't play well. We didn't play well, which was a credit to their defensive line, and their linebackers played very well. So that was a credit to them. And it wasn't. We didn't play well. We didn't play well because of them. They had good players who were playing well. And then against Stony Creek, it was kind of back and forth, and it was one of those games where they jumped out to an early lead, and they were doing a good job running the football. We weren't doing a good job from a secondary perspective, coming up and supporting in the run game. They hit some big plays in the passing game, but we ended up, we had momentum in the second half, and we ended up scoring in the fourth quarter. to tie the ball game. And I felt like, okay, we have momentum. We just scored. Here we go. And then they put together basically an 8-minute drive to eat up most of the fourth quarter and go down and score.
Very similar to a game back in 2011, Walled Lake Central game.
Yeah, it was
very similar.
So so obviously, they put together a big drive when they needed it, and then our inability at that one time to stop the run. That was a difference in the ball game. So no, it's in our league. I mean, everybody, obviously, if people think of Lake Orion and look at, as we're going to be strong every single year, there are good teams in our league, and if the teams aren't good, they're no longer in our league. They move them out. The only people that play in our league are teams that are good. So as you guys know with the schedule, you got to bring it every single week.
Yes, that is true.
When you look at last season, of course, I've never seen this last year. I'm going to be honest with you. Was the Clarkson game. We were down 35-0. You brought the whole team together. I know it was a tough experience. Can you share what that was?
We weren't playing well, and at the time, obviously Clarkson got on us, and I saw a lot of heads dropping. I saw a lot of shoulders dropping. I felt like at that time, our spirits were beating a little bit, and we had to find the fight. It doesn't matter. Once again, it doesn't matter if we're up by 3 touchdowns, if we're down by 3 touchdowns. Our expectations, we play every down the same.
Right.
So we had to call it up and say, listen, let's remember who we are. Let's remember who we're about. I don't care what it says on the scoreboard. What I care about is our effort. I care about how we play. So it was that. It was bring it together. Let's remind some guys. Obviously, it's a big game, big crowd, and and it's they're kids, and being in that environment, and sometimes you got to go through those things. They're a learning experience, and because we went through that, did it make us better for Week 9 to play a very good team Week 9 and play a good game? Maybe it did. But it was that time to circle the wagons and say, okay, guys, let's remember who we are.
Is it a concern with Clarkston that Lake Orion's not beaten Clarkston since 2010? Is that a concern?
No, it's not, because when I became the head coach in 1998, they hadn't beaten them in a long time. And all it takes is a group of guys to draw the line in the sand and say, you know what, we're Lake Orion. In 98, we beat them in 98. And then we hit a stage where, it's very similar. It goes in cycles. They've had a great run and they've had some very good teams. But it goes in cycles. You take, there was a period of time when it was 3-4 years straight where they couldn't beat Lake Orion. So it's the same thing. I mean, it's evenly matched. They're always going to be solid. We're going to be solid. So it's a matter of, they've had some very good teams and they've been better than us the last couple of years. Is that the case this year? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a great football game with 2 teams going at it, and that's the great thing about high school football. It's not like the NFL or even the NCAA where you have your players for a period of years.
Right.
The players change every other year. You might have somebody comes in as a sophomore or a junior, you have them for a couple of years, but it's a whole new team. So you're not playing last year's team.
No.
The traditions and reputations and people in the media hang on to last year. This is a whole new group. And so that's what that's the exciting part about high school football. And everybody starts at 0-0. So it's what happened last year was last year, and that was that team and that group of kids. This is an entirely different team, an entirely different group of kids.
Any final thoughts on last year's team?
No, you know what? It's every year. Whether you're successful or not as successful as you want to be, you got to put last year away. You got to blow it up. Blow it up. Last year was last year. So. Coming off of championship years, the same thing. You got to blow it up. You got to put it away. Coming off years where we feel like we underachieved, you got to put it away. This team is a different team. We start fresh, and we start on Monday. They start writing their own story.
Yep. It's like I mentioned on my Twitter post about it's like a chapter in the book. This team, last year's chapter was written. You got a new chapter beginning.
Absolutely.
Now.
This is Team 72. 72nd edition of Lake Orion
72
football.
is my number when I played.
There you go. So this is the year of Sam. So
well, also Trent Varver won that too.
Team 72. So that they will write their story, and this is they carry the tradition of Lake Orion football, but there will only be one Team 72. There won't be one after it. There hasn't been one before it. So what these guys do in the next several weeks, that's going to be their story.
Sammy, you have any final thoughts?
Well, just got to put the season aside. You know what I mean? I know you have, and I'm hoping the community does that this year. Is get ready for a fun season.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back with a special Lake Orion football preview show on ONTV.
The United States Air Force has a proud history of leading our nation in embracing diversity. We've been reaching new heights for years by understanding it's our individual experiences which make us strong. You can share in this success by seeking opportunities to learn and grow as a member of a diverse team. We are the world's greatest Air Force, not because of what we do, but who we are. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
If you keep tanning, indoors or out, the effects of harmful rays will show up on your skin. Wrinkles, age spots, and an increased risk of melanoma, the second most common cancer in women 15 to 29. Stop tanning. Time may not be on your side. Learn how to protect your skin at spotskincancer.org. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Welcome back to the 5th Annual Lake Orion Football Preview Show here on ONTV. I'm your host, Anthony Taormina. I have Coach Bell with me. Sammy, how are you?
I'm hanging in there.
I want to talk about the theme of Lake Orion football this season. It's a very familiar one, but it's a nice theme, Orion Tough. How'd you come up with the idea of Orion Tough?
Well, over the years we've had different mottos, and usually there's a story, there's a reason behind every motto. And, and mottos, they look at that on a T-shirt, but it's got to be something that's meaningful to your players, and we kind of went back to, really reflective of this football team where we're going to be an old school Lake Orion type football team. And Orion Tough has been around for years. When Coach Barry was here way back and they started that Orion Tough theme, we're talking going back close to 30 years. Or 25 years rather. So we've got several that we talk about, and Orion Tough is one of them. And Orion Tough basically is the way that we do things. It's the way we practice. It's the way we play. It's a mentality. Lake Orion has always been known, even back when I was a kid coming to watch Lake Orion high school games, Lake Orion has always been known as a physical, fundamental football team. And that's the way we have to play. I mean, we don't have we're not going to have the Division I superstars out there at wide receiver or at tailback. We have to be 11 guys who are just playing hard and playing football our way. And to do that, you have to practice that way. And you got to embrace blocking and tackling, and you got to play physical, and you got to be relentless. That's an Orion Tough mentality. It's a mindset. Yes. And that's the way we have to play. So, and that's a group of kids that we have. The kids that I've seen this summer, the camps that we've had, their work ethic in the weight room, that's this group of kids. They love to play. They seem to love each other. They're a tough group of kids, and there's a lot of guys that I played with way back in the day that would be really proud of this group of kids. I mean, this reminds me of some of the throwback teams of the past. So that's where Orion Tough fits in. The other thing we talk about is Dragon Pride. Dragon Pride is also, it's having pride in what we do. It's having pride in our facilities, having pride in our school. And it's a common sense rule, but it's something that's demonstrated. It's demonstrating Dragon Pride. So that's another one that that we talk about. So, from Orion Tough to Dragon Pride, and then finally we also talk about Win for Lake Orion. And Win for Lake Orion is obviously this is our community is a huge supporter of our student body, of our students, of all of our sports, of all of our activities, and and it's important for us, being a one high school town, that when we play, we recognize that we play for more than just ourselves. And so those are themes that you've heard in the past. It's kind of defined our program. Orion Tough is the headliner, obviously, and that's why it's on the T-shirts, and that's why it's but that's why it's our theme for the year. But we're really embracing everything that has made this program what it is.
I remember back in 05, of course, we always had a chant called Orion Tough, Orion Be Tough, Go Dragons. You know what I mean? Yes. That's always been I learned the Orion Tough way. You know what I mean? Through the experiences of Dragon Pride and toughness and grit and determination. You know what I mean? Yep. And I think this is a great theme for you guys heading into the season.
Yeah, it's the way we got to play, and it is. I mean, I think we're going to be a fun team to watch. Our goal is to be that team that no one wants to play because of the way we play. And just playing legal, but being fundamentally sound, playing hard and competing and being relentless, and we think we got the guys able to do that this year.
One of the biggest strengths you have this year that we talked about is your depth. Explain your depth.
Well, it remains to be seen, obviously, because we haven't started practice, but we think that we have a number of athletes that can play in all spots. We think on the offensive line, we have several players, obviously headlined, by two of our returning seniors, and Nick Novak, who may be the best tackle around, and Jeff McCarty, as our center. And Jeff's, been a 4-year varsity player, and Jeff started for us at guard last year, and he's also one of the best long snappers around as well.
Yeah.
We got bodies at wide receiver. We got 5 or 6 running backs. We got a couple quarterbacks. We've got 4 or 5 slot receivers. Off on the defensive side of the ball. We've got 6 to 8 defensive linemen we think can factor in. We've got 5 or 6 linebackers. We've got 6 or 7 DBs. So it's a matter of where the pieces are going to fit as guys compete for jobs. And our goal is always play as many people as possible.
Yes.
We want to get the kids on the field, and there'll be some situational guys, whether he's a pass rush specialist, whether he's a nickel cover guy, or even personnel groups when we're going offense, whether we're going 3 wides, 4 wides, 2 backs, 2 tight ends, depending on those personnel groups. But we seem to have a lot of interchangeable parts and some options.
Do you have any major concerns heading into the season, especially what position group worries you at all heading in?
My major concerns are we have a lot of guys who have seen experience, we have a lot of guys who have a lot of depth, but in the same token, we have a lot of guys who haven't seen a lot of experience and aren't battle tested. So you just, and that's high school football. Every year I say the same thing, is you're worried about how well are the young guys going to play. I look at linebacker, our linebackers, for example, we could put 4 guys out there that all started a few games and played a lot. But as a unit, they haven't played together. So they're not real tested. I mean, from Danny White to Roger White to Tyler Vestran to Ryan Colt, that was a pretty solid linebacking core, and they all returned. Right. You throw some other guys in there as well that worked hard this summer, and I think that we're going to be athletic at linebacker, but I haven't seen them play together yet, and I haven't seen them, I've seen flashes where they've all been very, very good, then times when we needed to get better too. So we'll see. The defensive line is untested. So that's probably my biggest concern, is in all areas. We're going to have a first-year starting quarterback. We're going to have a first-year starter at running back. Our 2 wide receivers, Max Horniford is a great weapon. And Max got hurt game 1 last year, so I haven't seen Max play yet. We got a lot of first-year starters. There's talent, so that scares me a little bit. As any coach, it doesn't scare me, but it makes me nervous. They got to grow up in a hurry and play like veterans in a hurry. But I think based on the summer, I think they'll be able to do that. But once again, every high school program around faces the same things. You got starters for the first time, and it's our job to get them acclimated and get them going as quickly as we can.
I want to talk about returning players real quick. Who are you excited about returning from last year's team to this year's team? You made mention of a couple of players, Nick Novak, McCarty, Hornifer. Excited for other returning players who are returning?
I'm excited about all of them, even the guys that are coming up from the JV. We had a very good JV team last year. They went 7-1-1.
Yep.
And had a very good team, some very good athletes, and those guys are it reminds me, this blend reminds me a little bit of our 98 team. In our 98 team, we had a group of seniors who, they had some success, but they were, high character guys, good players. But then we had a group of juniors come up off the JV, and those juniors, I mentioned names like Zach Kesey, Matt Wogemuth, Adam Olds. These guys are all juniors. Mike Crawford, these guys, John Garcia. These guys came up and they brought a lot with them. So they were, same thing. First-year starters. Matt Wogemuth had never started a game before on the varsity level. Zach Kesey didn't start at varsity games as a junior, and lo and behold, the game 1 comes and look what we got. It reminds me of this. That's what this team reminds me of. We've got a good group of seniors who have some experience, and I got a bunch of juniors. So they're going to bring it. A bunch of juniors that love contact, that love to play the game. They're just tough kids. So it's a nice blend. The seniors I have, I think, are the same way. I got some seniors that are, they've been through the couple of a 4 and 5 season, and they're bound. They said, "This is not going to happen. We're going to get this thing done, and we're going to be better than that." And our leaders, guys like Max, guys like Nick Novak and Jeff McCarty and Danny White and Roger White, those guys have been great leaders for us. I'm excited. So I'm excited to see Chris Wilson and Sean Wilson. Those guys carry the ball. We've got those guys, and they've got a little bit. They showed some flashes last year. So, so with my juniors coming, the seniors coming back, it's going to be a nice mix of kids.
When you look at the mix of kids, of course, a lot of people are going to look at the quarterback a little bit. Of course, who are you expecting? You're keeping it under the wraps with the quarterback.
Well, this is where we are at the quarterback position. I've got 2 upperclassmen right now. I've got Ryan Culp, who has been a quarterback most of his career. Last year started for us on defense. Ryan's a big, strong kid, 3-sport athlete, good leader. And then I have John Marshall, who throws it very, very well. John started for the JV last year.
Yes, very good quarterback.
Jack Cornell was a backup on the JV last year, and Jack will be one of our quarterbacks as well. Max Horniford has been a quarterback in the past. He started for us as a sophomore. Max is very valuable as a wide receiver and a DB, but Max will bring some things to the table. And I've got we've got a lot of very good young quarterbacks in the system as well, from at the freshman level and JV level as well. So we've got good quarterbacks. I think that's going to be an area of strength for us in terms of the guys that I have. We can throw the ball, and I've got wide receivers that can get down the field. So when teams want to involve the secondary in stopping our run game, we've got to make teams pay for that. And we haven't been able to do that the last couple of years. And all of a sudden you're seeing 8-man, 9-man run boxes, and there's nothing we can do about it. This year there's things we can do about it now, because we're going to have the ability to get the ball down the field and attack with some speed. And and our struggles the last couple of years hasn't all been on the quarterback. Some of the struggles have also been at wide receiver. Whether it be where we've been hit with some injuries the last couple of years at wide receiver. We've lost some speed guys, and we just have them real fast out there. Well, we're getting back to, you got to be able to take the top off the coverage. You got to be able to run by people, well, especially, and you got to be able to beat one-on-one coverage. And we have the ability to do that this year, which will open some things up.
I want to talk about the schedule for this year. I've got the schedule right here on me for this upcoming season. We start the
Very
season.
vicious schedule.
Call it one of the tougher schedules I've seen in a long, long time. Open up at Wayne State in a rematch against Chippewa Valley. Very well coached. They lost a lot from last season, but still a very well coached team, very competitive team. Week 2, go against Stony Creek. Stony Creek has a new coach, well, also a familiar coach as well, Bob Lancey, who's we've went against him at Utica Eisenhower 2008, 2010, 2012 playoffs. They are often seen as a very hard-working team. They're a very blue-collar team. They work very, very hard. Week 3 at West Bloomfield, return to the Swamp. We've last 2 years, West Bloomfield has been very successful against us. That's going to be a very, very big game. Oxford, obviously rival, physical, very tough at home. The pink game, the 00 trophy game as well. Southfield, that game is a Friday afternoon game at 5:30 at their place. They're talented, projected to be one of the top teams of the league. Troy Athens, well coached, returning quarterback, big line, very experienced team. Seaholm, first time we've played in Seaholm since 1999. They run the veer option. Clarkston, Homecoming, another rival. Like us, they're very deep. They've got a good running attack. Then Bloomfield Hills playing them for week 9. Very competitive team, though. They're in the blue this year, but still there's no gimme games this year. It's the schedule. Is this team going to be ready for the schedule, for the challenge?
Well, we got to be. The question I would have is, is everybody in that schedule, are they going to be ready for Lake Orion? You know, we will match up with everybody we play, and we're going to be in every single game. There is no team up there that we can't compete with. Can we beat them all? We'll see. The good thing about our league is if you can come out of our league and you can qualify for the playoffs, you're going to be battle tested for whoever you're going to see. So that's the good thing. You know, and if you can't get out of our league, if you can't get 6 wins in our league, then you don't deserve to go. So, you know, it is a great schedule. It's a great league, and we're going to be ready. I mean, you take Chippewa Valley. You know, Chippewa Valley. Obviously, we've for the 3rd year in a row we've played them. They've beaten us twice, and in both of those games, in the 4th quarter, 2 years ago and last year, we have the lead. So it's you know, they've been great games. They've beaten us in high scoring, close games, and we just got to finish the job. So, you know, once again, so Chip Valley's a very competitive game. Scott's a good friend of mine, their head coach, and they're well coached, and they have great kids.
Merchant,
and so, I mean, that's a fun game, but that's the kind of game we need to see week 1 and to prepare us for our league. And then you get into our league, and you're right, every single week is tough. But I go back to, we're not playing last year's team. You look at West Bloomfield. West Bloomfield, you know, since they've gone to open enrollment, you know, they're pulling kids in from all over, and they're getting some great kids, which is fine. But their quarterback is a great player, is now at Michigan State. Their slot receiver was a great player who's now in the MAC. You know, their defensive lineman, one of the best defensive linemen I saw last year, has graduated. We're not playing those kids. We're playing this year's team. You know, so, you know, we got a lot of kids who got a lot of experience last year. We're going to be better, I believe. And like I said, the other teams are going to be good, and we know they're going to be good. They're well coached, and it's a great league, but we're going to be ready to go.
I've noticed too that the league seems there's a lot of parity in this division.
Well, if you're not good, the way OA is set up, if you're not good, they move you out. So the teams that haven't been successful are no longer in the league, and then they put in teams that have been successful. That's why you see Southfield now in our league. Now, obviously, they've merged with Southfield Lathrop, and they've been very successful. So based on their enrollment and their competitiveness, they're in our league. You take Troy High, who has struggled. You take Bloomfield, who has struggled. And
both high enrollments.
High enrollments, but they move them out.
Yeah.
Now, Bloomfield benefited this year. Bloomfield, with the closing of Southfield Lathrop, Bloomfield got some new kids. Bloomfield also picked up a transfer from Brother Rice, who's going to be their starting quarterback. So Bloomfield's not a slouch. And they don't belong down the blue, but that's where they're going to play, and we'll see them week 9. So, you know, that's going to be a tough game. So, like I said, that's the way the league is set up, that your better teams are going to put everybody up in that top division, and you know, and you got to bring it every single week. You know, you take Oxford last year, who really struggled. You put Oxford down in the blue, and Oxford probably wins that division. You know, the white has been pretty competitive the last couple of years with the red, but yeah, I tell you, whenever you cross over, I can't remember a year when the top teams in the white have beaten the top teams in the red. You know, the crossovers doesn't happen. I mean, you take last year's, I forget who won the white last year.
It was Oak Park.
Oak Park played Clarkson, or played West Bloomfield. West Bloomfield won. Clarkson won.
Harrison won it last year.
Or Harrison won. You take so, I think West Bloomfield. It's competitive, but our top teams in the red are usually beating the top teams in the white. Yeah, that's what it is.
When you look at, I know one of the games, I know you're an administrator, of course. Having to play a 5:30 game at Southfield, I know you got to have the kids focused in the classroom and all that, but having to play a game at 5:30, what's your thoughts about having to go down to Southfield?
We were down there before. You know, it's actually interesting. We went down there, and I think it was 2002, and then we went down there a couple of years after that as well, when Josh Allison was a senior. I remember we played down there as well. We had Chris Lum and David Worst and those guys. But I remember playing down there in 2002. And they had, all we heard about was game 1. We opened up at Southfield. And they had 4 Division I players. They had a quarterback that was going to Illinois. They had a tailback who was going to Minnesota. They had a wide receiver and a defensive lineman all going to Division I schools. That's all we heard about. So we go down there with a bunch of guys that no one's heard of. We go down there and we put one on them. Then we play them in a high-scoring game a few years later. You know, we had a pretty good team, but that's when we had Chris Lum at quarterback, and we ended up winning a high-scoring game down there and playing at 5:30. It's a different time. It's still, you know, it's going to be a big game. Doesn't matter what time you play. That works for them. They like playing their games a little bit earlier. So this is what it is. You know, I like playing in different. I like playing at different times. I like playing different venues. That's one of the reasons why we play. So one of the reasons why we play down at Wayne State every year. or play at Eastern Michigan, whatever it is, because we like taking the kids out of their comfort zone, having them play somewhere different. It prepares you for the postseason, because you never know when you have to play on a Saturday afternoon. You never know when you have to play on a Friday night in different stadiums. So the more we can expose the kids to, the better. And you said the 5:30 game, our kids will be fine. We'll be ready. They do a good job focusing on school on Fridays. We may have to get them out a little bit early on that day. But not too much, because I mean it's not too bad a drive.
So one thing that I get some question is from some viewers when I walk in the Rochester Adams. Lake Orion and Rochester Adams have only played once since 2009. How come Lake Orion and Adams don't play each other the way they used to?
Well, it's because of the league. The way the league is set up, them being in the white division, us being in the red division, the only times we'll play is if there's a crossover. And this year it's a determined crossover. We would love to see that. At the end of this year is another realignment year. And we would love to see us get back to more of a regional setting. You got to balance enrollment, competitive balance, but we also think too in the regionalization. I mean, we should be playing Rochester, Adams, Stony Creek every year. Couple of reasons. Number one, it saves dollars in transportation, brings in a bigger gate. Whenever we play Rochester Adams, it's a packed house. Their place or our place doesn't matter. So
rivalries create most revenue.
Absolutely, and it's an easier drive for parents. Thursday nights, JV games, we're getting kids home earlier. They're not driving down from Farmington or from Southfield on Thursday nights, getting home at 11. So there's so many advantages, but it's convincing. It's convincing everybody who makes those decisions that that's in the best interest of our league, best interest of our kids. But you also, as well, we want to maintain some competitive balance as well. And school size does dictate some things. But like I said, there is so much parity now between the red and the white. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, especially with open enrollment. Open enrollment now, you may have 1,400 kids in your school, but if you're open enrollment, you're drawing from all over.
Right.
And we've got schools in our league that are drawing from all over. So, does the school size really matter? It really doesn't. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. We'd love to see, I think the Rochesters would love to see us. I'd love to see a league of, I'd love to see Oxford, Clarkston, us, the three Rochesters together. That they take care of those six, then add in whoever they want to add in. I would love to see that group, because that's our neighbors. And there's the communities are very similar. Kids know each other. As coaches, we know each other. And get back to some of those more traditional rivalries every single year.
I agree with that 100%.
I agree 100%.
So we'll see. There's going to be a big push for that. You do have to factor in some of that competitive balance stuff, but we'll see how that works.
Any final thoughts on the schedule, gentlemen?
Tough schedule, but I know you like tough schedules and all that. You know what I mean? And it gets you ready. And it also, if you win it, you get playoff points, you know what I mean? A lot. It gets you ready. It gets you the next step.
And we're going to open our scrimmage. We've changed our scrimmage this year as well. We're going to scrimmage at our place against Lapeer High School.
Lapeer's a very good team.
And so it's going to be a great scrimmage for us. And in the scrimmage for us, I mean, we do a lot of situational things, and we don't show a lot in the scrimmage. It's working on fundamentals, but it's going to be a great test for us, and I think a great test for them. So, I mean, we'll be ready to go at that level right out of the gate.
Lapeer, good team, good scrimmage. It'll be a heck of a scrimmage.
Absolutely.
It'll be fun. We'll be right back with the Lake Orion Football Preview Show on ONTV.
You'd do anything to take care of that spot on your lawn. So why not take care of that spot on your skin? If you're a man over 50, you're in the group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma, the cancer that kills one person every hour. Check your skin for suspicious or changing spots. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out what to look for. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Today, a new creature walks among us, terrorizing innocent citizens. Until this threat can be contained, we must all be on the lookout for the dreaded digital deadwalkers.
Dude!
They're not looking out for you.
Engage!
A public service safety message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, who want to keep everyone well connected with strong, healthy bones.
Welcome back to the Lake Orion Football Preview Show on ONTV. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great.
Sammy, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Got
What?
my baby Nanny right here.
That's the 00 trophy for those who want to know why he calls it that. I don't know. All right. I want to talk about the alumni, particularly. I want to talk about the alumni and their role in Lake Orion football program. How much does that mean to you to have the alumni involvement in Lake Orion football?
Well, it's from an alumni perspective. Once kids graduate, move on. I mean, as teachers, as coaches, as administrators in the district. I mean, we're outside of their own families. There are no bigger fans of our kids than us, because we get to see them come in as freshmen. Oftentimes working with them when they're in middle school at our camps and things like that, and to see them grow up into successful young adults and go on to bigger and better things. I mean, that's all part of what we do. This is a learning process. Lake Orion football is not the end-all, be-all. This shouldn't be the highlight of their life. It should be something that is character building and something that they can look back on with fond memories. But we love seeing them go on, and we love to see them come back and visit and share and brag about all the things that they're doing, and it's been great. It's been great seeing the guys over the years. Obviously, that we've been there now for a long time, and we're getting older. It's great to see the guys and the next chapters in their lives. So, in terms of their impact, a lot of times when guys come back, sometimes they'll speak to the team. Talk about when they played, and what our current players realize is that it's the same experiences, just different era, and it's the same core beliefs and core principles and the things that are really important. That determines a winning football team, and that's what it's all about. So that doesn't change. There's a lot of things that can change, offenses, defenses, things like that, but about working together, playing for each other, Orion tough, being fundamentally sound. That stuff doesn't change, and they get to hear those messages over and over again. So it is great to see those guys. We've had some coaches come back and coach on our staff and get teaching jobs in the district, and that's been great because it's they understand our system, and they come in and coach the kids the right way. So they do a good job there. And for example, this summer, one of the guys we've had back this summer who's working with our quarterbacks is Sean Charette.
Yep.
Sean is our all-time leader in many statistical categories.
That's a name I've heard before.
For your starter, he's a great quarterback coach, and he's finishing up his college career at Grand Valley. And he's tremendous. So he's been working with our quarterbacks all summer. Tyler Mishak obviously playing on the state championship team, and Tyler has a job which will allow him to coach. And Tyler is a great football coach. He brings a lot of energy, and he works with our defensive backs and wide receivers. And he's doing a great job there. Obviously, we have Brian Litton who's been back with us, and Brian recently took a teaching job. Brian didn't have a full-time teaching job here in the district, so Brian took a job down in Tennessee. So that's a situation where he and I talked about it. I encourage him at a loss for us, but I have to encourage him to go. Say this is a chance for a full-time job. It's your goal to get into a classroom, to be a teacher, and be able to impact kids. And so it's our loss, but we're happy for Brian, and he's going to keep us posted. And someday, hopefully, we can bring him back. He's done a good job. Jimmy Caritas played for us, and Jimmy's been huge in our strength and conditioning program, and was a three-year starter for us. So, it's great to have these guys come back, and they come back with their outside experiences. Jimmy spent 10 years, working at the collegiate level and the strength and conditioning programs at the collegiate level. So he's bringing all that knowledge and experience back and teaching us. So, it's great to have those guys. Just recently at a camp, I had Dimitri Hudson and Danny and I stop by and say hello. And this is where, we're running our team camp, and they stayed and they helped with some things. And Danny played at the University of Dayton, was a wide receiver. And Dimitri and Danny were both our two slots on our state championship team. And it was very interesting because later on in the season, Danny always played on the left, Dimitri played on the right. And, they were ran both plays. They say, as we got into the season, Dimitri emerges. Dimitri was the best blocking slot we've ever had. Danny was probably the best running slot we've ever had. So as we got into the season and late in the playoffs, when tendencies were pretty much out the window because we are, so we could start favoring some things, we switched. Every time we wanted to run the jet play, wanted to run rocket, we put Dimitri over the block and handed the ball to Danny. It made sense. Let your blocking guy block and hand the ball to your fast guy.
Right.
Well, but that takes a player. So I'm telling Dimitri, so Dimitri, I'm not going to be handing you the ball 6 to 8 times a game. Instead, you're going to go block for your buddy. And it takes a very unselfish player to say, I got it, coach. That's okay. I'll sacrifice my statistics because this is better for the team. This is better for my buddy, and it's going to help us win. And Dimitri, and so we told that story to the kids, and then let the kids talk about their mindset. And we asked Dimitri, said, Dimitri, so why in the world would you give up carries willingly and do this? When I asked you to do this. And he said, well, coach, for 3 reasons. Number 1, I love football. Number 2, I loved my team. And number 3, I loved the guy I was blocking for. So that's why I do. And for our kids to hear that message, so the team that won state championship 2010, it was a very good team. Maybe not our most talented team.
Right.
But when it came to character, unselfishness, and playing for each other, they did those things and brought out the best in each other. So that's where the alumni come in. And it's great. I can walk by guys. I had not have seen them in years, and they're at the game, and outside they go, "Hey, coach," I walk by, and you can look at them, and we just know. You just know. You have that connection of he knows what we're going through, he knows what we're dealing with, he knows what it's all about, and even though, as you guys know, that you guys are alumni and veterans, all that stuff, the mentality. The game never once you play, the game doesn't leave you.
No.
The game never leaves you. It's always there. So
I know.
And we have that bond and we have that connection forever.
I know playing for you, the game has never left my brain.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And look what I became.
I want to talk about the Jeff Heath camp. You had alumni come back. You had Vinnie Booker. You had Litton was there. You had
Marcus Stevenson.
You had Marcus Stevenson, Chris Lum. Explain how the Jeff Heath camp has impacted the.
Well, Jeff comes back. His second year we've done it, and he gets a week off. Where he's they have their off-season training down there. He trains out in Dallas, and when he comes back, he likes to come back for a week here, and he offers to do the camp for us. And it was a fundraiser that went into our football booster club, and I look at it as it's another opportunity for our kids to get some great coaching from guys that once again played at a high level, and they can come back and they can instruct their kids. Now we help as well. We help organize it. And we help as well, but. Just a phenomenal camp, and the great thing with Jeff is Jeff is as an NFL free safety, special teams captain. Jeff knows the game, and the way he teaches the kids and the extra things that he's able to give, our kids get better from going through that. So we love seeing him. This year he brought his girlfriend up with him as well, who's the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. And she ran a camp where she had a handful of young girls, and they did a little cheerleading camp and dance routine, and hopefully that will grow every single year. But it speaks a lot to them about coming back and doing this for the benefit of our program, their way to give back. And for us, we just love to get to catch up and have some fun, and so it's always a great day.
You've had some great football players that play in the NFL. Of course, Jeff Heath currently right now, but you've had Zach Kesey that played in the NFL. How does the Lake Orion NFL pipeline work with?
I don't know if we're there yet to call it a pipeline, but you know what? The thing about it is it's not about when these guys were playing. At no point either Zach or Jeff were when they were playing, were thinking, "Hey, this guy's an NFL player." Now they had all the intangibles. It's like, okay, if anybody can do it, it's these guys, because it's the work ethic, the desire, and the way that they played. I don't know if you'd ever find 2 more competitive players than Zach Kesey and Jeff Heath, and that's just something the kids have. They're just going to compete. They're not going to get beat. They're going to find a way, and they're going to do whatever. Zach Kesey in the playoffs in 1998 was one of the best football players I've ever seen on the field. And Zach was a starting linebacker for us, obviously. But we got into starting with the stretch run of the season. We had to win out and finish, and this was back before they expanded the playoffs. We were at the time 5-1, and we knew we had to win our last 3 games, including Week 9 at Clarkson, to get to the playoffs. And we won those 3 games. And Zach was phenomenal those 3 games. And then we got to Monroe, who was loaded. They had a guy. They had a guy that was 3 or 4 Division I players. One guy played for the Packers. They were loaded and coming in, and Zach had 16, 17 tackles, was all over the field, was unblockable. It was unbelievable. then played well on offense as well. And then we played Brighton the next year, and Brighton was the same thing. Zach, I think he set a school record for 18 tackles in a game, and it just was sideline to sideline. And then once again, in high school, he was only 6 foot, 185 pounds. Wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but he had great instincts. He played hard, and he competed, and just loved to play. Jeff was the same way. Jeff was the same way. The bigger the game, the better Jeff played. When the year we went to the state finals in 2008, we were down. We were down at halftime against Romeo. A good Romeo team was taking to
I remember the 5 weeks that really made that team.
Jeff made some huge plays in that game. Jeff, obviously, the field goal. Sterling Stevenson made some huge plays, and Jeff was unbelievable. But it's the way they competed all the time. And Jeff, the thing about they're both smart football players. I think that's really Jeff's ability to pick things up. He's a smart player. His dad has been on our staff for years. His dad Mike's been on our staff for years. So he's a coach. He's a coach's kid, which helps in terms of learning the game. So, some of the guys that we have now, you could tell me, is Nick Novak a future left tackle in the NFL? Maybe. So we've got some guys that have that ability, but you just never know.
3 more things I want to address before I want to address the role of the parents.
Yep.
How important is the parents to Lake Orion football? I also want to talk about youth football real quick, and then I'll end up with what your expectations are for this upcoming season. So I want to mention first the role of the parents of the program, and then also youth football, and then expectations.
Well, our parents, we have great parents. It's part of having wonderful kids is they're raised by great people. Parents are very supportive in our program. We're also pretty transparent in that, in our parent meeting, we talk about, hey, this is how we do things. This is how we evaluate your kids. You're welcome to come watch practice. We think we coach our kids the right way, with the right morals and ethics. We want what's best for them. We do our best to keep them safe. So I think the parents trust us with that. Our parents do a great job in our pep club. Our schools provide basic necessities in a football program, but all the extras in terms of whether it be field equipment, sideline equipment, video editing stuff, computers. Our pep club pays for all that. The ability to have some additional coaches, our pep club pays for that. The ability to feed our kids after school, our pep club pays for that. And that's all parent run. So our parents have been the backbone and lifeblood of our program. Not to mention, there's nobody who travels better than Lake Orion. There's nobody who has better support on the road than Lake Orion.
No, that is true.
Those are our parents. And we're very upfront. We can't guarantee success. All we can guarantee is that we're going to give your child the best experience we can. We're going to try as hard as we can. So parents have been tremendous. And I go all the way back to starts with youth football, because youth football is nothing but a group of Lake Orion parents working for kids to give them a football experience at a young age. And our youth program is in great hands right now. They've done a great job. There's a lot of kids that want to come play for Lake Orion in the youth program, to the point where they have a waiting list. They do a great job down there. And those guys, a lot of guys that have come through have been our youth league players. So it's great to see them grow up. We've got the youth league involved in some of our camps, so we get to work with some of those youth league guys, and it's fun working with those guys and going back to the 8 and 9 year olds and seeing what they're all about and teaching them some basic skills. Their coach, working with their coaching staff, their coaches come out and help as well. So it's Lake Orion football is a program from 8 to 18, and everybody involved. We talk about Lake Orion Dragon football family. It's a family, and we want success for all of those guys.
You do have something here called you practice with the moms. Do you have that anymore?
We had that last night. We had our mom and dad's camp last night. We had about 35 moms and dads. So we've expanded to the dads, mostly moms. We had some dads out there last night, and we put them through a modified practice. There's probably some pretty sore moms and dads. We put them through a practice and teach them some skills, and we do some things. And like last night, we ended with running 7-on-7, and we're calling things based on formations and plays, and they're looking at where the routes are, and they're seeing how it all gets put together. I think they walk away with a great appreciation for what their kids do. Our football is not. You've got to be a smart player. You got to be a smart athlete to play football, and our kids process a lot very quickly, and they're capable of doing that. So it's I think our parents walk away with a great appreciation. We have a lot of fun with them.
last but not least, expectations for us this upcoming season.
Our expectations, every year our expectations, we expect to be a good football team. We expect to be in the thick of a playoff race, in the thick of a league championship. We expect to compete in every single game. We expect to do a great job on the field preparing. I expect my kids to do a great job off the field. You know, there's a lot that goes into being a successful football player. And we've always operated that in order to be a great football player, you better be a great student and a great character guy first. Because when those two are in line, football takes care of itself. You know, you can't be a great football player and not be doing good things in the other parts of your life. It's all consistent. So how you do small things is how you do all things. And that's what we're about as a football player, developing football players. And I think we expect to be very good. You know, how good, we'll see. But we're going to be in it. We're going to compete. It's a great group of kids. It's going to be a great group of kids to coach. And all I can tell you is that whether we're 0-9 or 9-0 or somewhere in between, that we're going to have a group of guys that are going to go out and work as hard as they can and be the best that they can. Results are for everybody else. We know we're going to do the best that we can, and then we'll let the results lie.
Sammy, you have any final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts, your expectation, I know it's not easy. You know, football is not supposed to be easy. And, schedule helps you guys out this year. You're playing a new team in Southfield Arts and Tech this year. Mm-hmm. But the expectation's always the same. You know what I mean? Like, it's never easy. It's always a process.
Absolutely.
It's never easy,
Yep.
All right. That will do it for this week's episode, or this year's episode, not this week's. I'm used to beating. Thank you very, very much, Coach, for attending.
My pleasure, always. It's fun to be with you guys.
All right, that'll do it for this year's episode of the Lake Orion Football Preview Show. Getting all my shows mixed up. So, all right, have a great night, and go watch. I encourage you guys to come out, watch Lake Orion football, whether it be on ONTV or at Dragon Stadium. All right, I will see you.
Or on the road.
Or on the road, too. Yes, on the road. So encourage you guys, come out, watch a football game. It'll be fun. All right, see you, Lake Orion.